You know, that first visit from a hospice nurse, it's so much more than just a house call. It's a 90-minute encounter that can literally define the entire end-of-life experience for a patient and their family. And believe it or not, it all follows a surprisingly detailed blueprint. Let's decode it. Think about it. In the world of hospice care, a single interaction, just 60 to 90 minutes long, can change absolutely everything. This isn't just a nice to meet you. It's the moment a promise is made, a plan is formed, and the whole foundation for end-of-life care gets built. So what might look like a simple, compassionate conversation is actually a highly structured process. It's guided by what's called a standard operating procedure, but it's less like a checklist and more like an architect's blueprint. It's designed to build a structure of care that is both incredibly compassionate and remarkably precise. Okay, now the official purpose, as you see in the manual, sounds super technical. It's about ensuring survey-ready notes that demonstrate LCD eligibility and complete defensible records. So what does that even mean? Well, in plain English, it's about making sure the patient officially qualifies for care under very strict local guidelines so that everything can be covered. But that's only half the story.
Right, because behind all that regulatory language is a deeply human process. So how does this technical blueprint actually translate into a meaningful, supportive experience for the patient and their family? Let's walk through it step by step.
First up, the preparation. A nurse's work doesn't just start when they ring the doorbell. Nope, it begins way before, with a process that honestly looks a lot like a pilot's pre-flight check before takeoff. The nurse dives deep into the patient's history, confirming every single diagnosis and medication. They put together educational materials, and they pack their tools. And we're talking everything from a blood pressure cuff to, get this, a simple tape measure that's used to track the mid-upper arm circumference, which is a really clear way to quantify muscle wasting, a key indicator of physical decline. Every little detail is anticipated. All right, prep is done. Now we're at the core of the visit, the at-home assessment. This is where the nurse really becomes an investigator, piecing together a complete 360-degree view of the patient's life and their health. Every single piece of data tells a part of the story. Vitals aren't just numbers on a chart. A trend in weight or that changing arm measurement shows physical decline over time. Then there are these objective scales, which provide non-biased proof that the patient is eligible. These include the Palliative Performance Scale, or PPS, which we'll get to in a sec, the KPS for cancer, and the FAST scale for staging dementia. And finally, a full head-to-toe check creates the complete clinical picture. Nothing is arbitrary here. So let's zoom in on one of those key scales, the PPS, or Palliative Performance Scale. This isn't just about a gut feeling. It's a tool that actually quantifies a patient's condition. It scores them on a scale from 100% down to 0%, based on 5 really concrete factors, from how well they can walk to their level of consciousness. It's all about turning subjective observations into objective, solid data. So, after gathering all of this data, the vitals, the scores from the scales, the physical exam, the entire visit comes down to one single critical moment. You could call it the most important click of the entire 90-minute process. And that click is the LCD eligibility check. The nurse plugs all the data into the system, which runs it against those local coverage determination criteria we talked about. It's basically a digital gatekeeper. If the status comes back green, the patient is eligible and the care plan can start immediately. If it's red, the process has to stop right there. It is the final definitive green light. Okay, so once that eligibility is confirmed with a green light, the nurse shifts roles again. They go from investigator to architect. It's time to turn all that data into a completely personalized roadmap for care. Creating this roadmap, or plan of care, follows a really simple but powerful logic. First, you identify a specific problem. Second, you set a SMART goal that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And third, you define the exact interventions the hospice team is going to use to reach that goal. Let's look at how this actually works. Say the problem is the patient has difficulty swallowing, which creates a high risk of aspiration. The SMART goal? Reduce that risk for the next 14 days, with the caregiver being able to show they know the precautions. And the interventions? These are concrete actions, like ordering a special diet and teaching the caregiver to elevate the head of the bed during meals. See? It's a clear, actionable plan. And finally, we get to the last phase of the visit,
the final QA sign-off. And trust me, this isn't just about finishing up paperwork. This is about sealing the promise that was made to the patient and their family. The final documentation has to be perfect because it is a legal record. The level of precision required is just immense. For instance, a huge don't is charting contradictions, like writing that a patient with late-stage dementia is alert and conversational. Every single word has to align with the objective data to create a consistent, defensible story of care.
And it all comes down to this final self-check. Before signing off, the nurse runs through this list one last time. Are all the diagnoses in there? Is eligibility confirmed as green? Is every single plan individualized? Does the final story clearly show why this person needs hospice care? This is what ensures that the promise made in that first hour is fully captured and ready to be acted on.
When you really break it down, that first hospice visit is a masterclass in turning a complex, emotional moment into a clear, actionable, and deeply personalized plan. It's a blueprint that perfectly combines data with compassion and structure with humanity. And it really leaves us with a fascinating question. What could the rest of our healthcare system learn from this model? What if all care was this personalized and this precise?